Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome to the Friday edition, at last, of the Daily Gen AI News Briefing with the team from GAI Insights, where we rate and debate the importance of the latest enterprise AI news, giving it a final rating of essential, important, or optional. I'm Adam Rappaport, research analyst and tech wizard, and today I have with me some of the usual suspects, John Sviokla, Paul Beyer, and Ankaj Handa. And we also have our special guest analyst today, Mike Grandietti. Mike, good to see you. Thanks for
Great to
joining
see
us.
you, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Very nice. Thank you. Same to you. Mike is a successful serial entrepreneur, an AI innovation expert, and he provides insights, guidance, and mentorship to everyone from Harvard and MIT to UC Berkeley, Brown, and Babson. So we're certainly privileged to have him joining us here today. If you'd like to follow along from home, you can go to our website, gaiinsights.com/articles, and there's links to all of today's news. Ankaj, kick us off. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam. So the first one that we have for today comes from Perplexity, and it talks about Sonar, their blazing fast model optimized for perplexity search.
Yeah, very interesting news. Mike, I know you are a heavy Perplexity user. Why don't you lead us off about the news today?
Thank you, Adam. And it is an interesting announcement, right? And it's I would say the first real AI killer app that came out. And it's actually been out since August of 2022. So this is one of my go-to apps. And we've seen Perplexity begin to embrace more and more models. And what I think this signifies is the ascendance of open source in a post-DeepSeek world. So, just a few weeks ago, and you guys, shared how you could use DeepSeek without going through Chinese hosting services. They integrated DeepSeek as one of their many models. And now this is a very interesting thing because just in the last 3 weeks or so, Figure AI, the humanoid robot maker, decided to part ways with OpenAI in its large language model and build their own purpose-built LLM. And so this seems to be the continuation of a trend where people are building purpose-built LLMs for their own specific needs. So I think it's important only because Perplexity is such a widely used tool and such a widely respected company, right? Really gaining ground on Google in the search business. But on some level, it's really just another, indication of a trend that continues along. So I'd say it's somewhere between optional and important. And the one thing I would look forward to is benchmarks that they can provide to show whether or not this is actually outperforming some of the other models. I do have Perplexity Pro. I did not notice any difference in the response times when I used it yesterday.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. John, what do you think?
I was leaning more toward important or maybe even essential because for really three reasons. The accuracy is higher. The speed is a lot faster if these numbers are to be believed, right? And we didn't do any independent testing. And then the third thing that I think a lot of people need to focus on is the river of cash that has been funding a lot of the internet, not all of it, but a lot of it is advertising, right? Through Google and Facebook and so forth. And Perplexity, to your point, Mike, I think is the really strong challenger to Google. And I'm hearing numbers like 10-15% in terms of Google's traffic for its traditional, that Google is 10 to 15% off in terms of shrinkage in its traditional search traffic. That's a big number for the market leader, right? And so we're already starting to see a rerouting of that river of cash. And I think that's a big deal. And I think our AI leader needs to really pay attention to that because a lot of investment money and a lot of attention and a lot of corporate spend is starting to move.
Paul, you got anything to add?
I actually like John's riff there, although this particular article is really on their new model, which I had as optional. I think important trend for the AI leaders understand you need to find trust vendors that keep up with all this open and closed stuff and have flexibility. And I think Perplexity is doing a good job, and this is it. But this is going to have arms race between open and close, mine, somebody else's. So in that sense, I had it as optional.
Yeah, I think I'm probably on the fence on this one. I think I've heard some news that I believe it's Perplexity is just we may be discussing it Monday, announcing a deep research tool as well.
Yeah.
This feels to me like a response to Gemini Flash.
Correct.
Really needing to sort of, and they probably already had it. I think a lot of these vendors already have some of these waiting, and they're just responding to each other in kind. So it's fascinating to watch. I think I'm going to lean towards important, just to elevate a little more visibility onto the competitiveness of the landscape.
But the other thing, Adam, remember that a lot of these AI leaders are trying to hone their secure employee chatbot strategy, and very few of them are going with enterprise Perplexity. So this is an individual user tool that might get reimbursed at some companies for certain researchers.
Yeah. And
is that an argument for making it important or leaning back towards optional?
That's for me back in optional.
Yeah, and the last thing I would say is that none of us mentioned this, but they're building it on Llama, right? And this seems to be, at least from what I know, the first really major killer app out there that's being built on top of Llama that has had such commercial success.
Ankaj, what do you think? He's my go-to when I can't decide.
Yeah, definitely important, Adam.
Okay.
Awesome. You almost have me, Paul. Good luck next time. Let's go with important on Sonar and move along. Thanks, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one that we have is a use case which talks about how LinkedIn is combining large language models, LangChain, and Jupyter notebooks to improve prompt engineering.
Yeah, John, why don't you lead us off on this one?
I think this is. I was going to give this important, maybe even essential, because what I liked about it is it's not just about prompt engineering. Really, it's about all the different things that LinkedIn has shared within their organization for them to improve the use of AI inside the organization. So you have Jupyter notebooks, right, for this interface layer. And for those of you who don't know, Jupyter notebooks are incredibly important in the machine learning and academic world, right? Because you can put together code and data and, your analysis of it and share it in an open way. So this is a big deal. It's a trend that a friend of mine introduced me to about 10 years ago, in terms of what's really happening, especially in computer science, but all over academia. And then, LangChain for the, prompt orchestration. They have Trino for their data lake queries, for their giant data lake. Container-based deployment for easy access. So, so they have, the ability to deploy without screwing up the rest of the architecture. And then, custom UI elements, user interface elements for non-technical users. So I think this whole notion of enabling citizen programmers in a comprehensive way, where you've got all the way down to the code and the data in the Jupyter notebooks, LangChain making it easier to, to decentralize process engineering, access, secure, profile-based access to data lakes. This to me is, this is a fantastic playbook for accelerating the learning of an organization using AI. And it's the first comprehensive one I've seen. So that's why I was definitely important, maybe essential.
Yeah, John, I would agree. I know that you both have expressed the fact that we've seen a lot slower adoption than maybe we might have anticipated. And I do think this is an incredible playbook, kind of a beacon for others that are trying to disseminate AI across the organization and see much more broad rollout. So, I would agree with you that it's important. And I wish there were more case studies like this that we start to see getting populated out there, because I'm certainly looking forward to sharing this with some of my larger clients that are still really just coming out of pilot stage today.
Yeah, pretty compelling case. I'm inclined to agree. Paul?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I can support important. I do think Mike, to your comment, the slow adoption is on the official approved adoption. I think the shadow IT adoption by the autodidactics and the career-oriented folks is through the roof.
Yep, exactly.
Essential?
Yeah, I think so, John.
Really?
Awesome. I was just looking again at the point that I don't think anyone even brought up about the playground and the collaborative engineering, and I just think there's there's a ton of thought leadership in here, and it's not even specifically, you know, application and model based, right? There's a lot to learn from it. So let's give it an essential and move along.
All right.
All over the weekend.
Woohoo!
Okay, the next one comes from Luma and talks about their new Ray 2 offering.
Yeah, look, these models just continue to get more mind-blowing. This latest model from Luma Labs, Ray 2, is available through their Dream Machine platform. I mean, the images speak for themselves. Ankash, as I continue to talk, you can scroll down the page. It does only generate in 720p, but Luma actually has an inbuilt upscaler now within their tool that allows you to make any of their videos 4K. So they have a really, really strong platform, along with doing text to video, image to video, and video to video with prompt for style transfer. They just have tremendous prompt adherence as well. You can give instruction for what you want the main object in the video to do. You can provide specific details about themes or elements or camera motion. Just quite possibly the most powerful video generation tool on the market right now. That being said, I'm inclined to lean towards an everyday miracle, right? Most people should already know that Luma's a leader in the space, and it shouldn't be a surprise that the leader in the space's models keep getting better. So I'd love to hear the opinions of some of the other analysts, but I'm probably going to call it optional news, maybe important, just because it is just so stunning.
Yeah, Adam, I agree. Optional. I mean, mind-blowing imagery, but it's just the continuation of an arms race that will go on for quite some time.
Yeah, I hear you guys, and I was headed toward optional, and then I started just scrolling through these things and was mesmerized by it. I mean,
yeah, keep scrolling, Ankash. Like,
I mean, it is just, I mean, you know, tank in shallow river, you know, following turtle in, you know, unbelievable aqua space, you know, it's just avalanches. I mean, look at that sheet, and look at that snow leopard.
Well, and John, also there you see it's in this one, it's the instruction volume. So that a snow leopard crouched on a rocky ledge staring directly at the camera, right? Yeah. So it's having that kind of prompt adherence within the structure is pretty amazing.
I don't know. I mean, I was a, you know, a sculptor undergrad, and we did some films and stuff. I mean, I was going to give it, you know, an essential just because, just go look at this stuff. I mean, look at that kitty cat on somebody's finger. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It is. It's come so far in so short time. It is absolutely mind-bending.
Yeah. The reason that there is a, you know, less John, you know, fascination here, but I think that one of the big things, I think AI leaders are underappreciating a couple of things. One is the thing we just talked about with LinkedIn, which is how do I create an environment that's going to allow for collaboration to reinvent my business? And you know, how do I get the citizen programmer in, not just the programmer, which is one way to characterize the article we just looked at. This, I think we're just at the very beginning of every corporation redoing its communications, its knowledge base, and so forth with tons of visual imagery and capability and storytelling. Like, you know, Alan Kay, the guy who invented object-oriented programming, told me one time about how the guy Joe, it's not Joe Rogan, I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, the guy who invented Animal Kingdom, right? And got the money to go do that. And inside Disney, the way their big capital requests are actually like a show. So, you know, they have the models and the movies and all that other stuff. And this guy actually, at one point in the meeting, because Eisner was still running Disney, and Eisner's there, and he's saying, you know, after he heard all the pitch about what it's going to be, and they're going to have to put billions and, you know, allocate land, he said, Eisner kind of kicks back and says, you know, well, but how exciting are animals anyway? And Joe opens the door, you know, points to a guy, opens the door, and in walks a live Bengal tiger and walks around the management while they're making the capital budgeting decision.
Wow. What a gutsy move that was. That's very cool.
Yeah. And so, and so that notion of storytelling to get money or to get a customer or to, you know, we're just going to take it up another whole level. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but Joe Rohde, thank you, Tim. Joe Rohde.
Joe Rohde.
And he's legendary dude, right? And That's what I mean. People who understand how to use this are going to differentiate.
Yeah. And John, I will say, I see this in my classes now. When students who have developed some facility with these tools present their final, team project presentations, they separate themselves from what we would consider to be a more normal, deliverable. So I would very much agree with you, right? This is really powerful stuff.
It's Friday night and Paul just left us. Let's give it an essential.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure our leaders get a little eye candy over the week. Yeah.
The next one, again, a use case comes from Klarna. So it talks about how Klarna's AI assistant is redefining customer support at scale for 85 million active users.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, what do you think about this one?
Yeah. So on the one hand, right, the Klarna use case is certainly not new, right? We've heard about the Klarna use case from OpenAI for over the last year. And Klarna, who is, taking the company public at a $20 billion valuation, has not in any way been shy to sort of talk about, how quickly they adopted generative AI to completely transform every part of their business, right? And it's been a very impressive case study. They've shared a lot of metrics. They've reduced a lot of costs in their bottom line. And they've not been shy about talking about the fact that, they've basically taken 700 customer support people out of the business and they've repurposed them, right? So that's all great. I love the case study. I've used it often in my classes and my exec ed presentations. But at the same time, it's just not that new. And so what we heard early on was how, they were a very important partner of OpenAI. But what I do like about this is it gives us a little bit more insight around how they're using the LangChain framework, this massive open source framework to kind of get to that next level of detail of understanding how they actually created what they call, and I love this phrase, a transformative agent, not a chatbot, right? So it's a great example of agentic orchestration. They talk about this controllable agent architecture that allows for the routing of requests and the handling of diverse tasks, which improves reliability and it cuts operational costs. So I think there's a lot of insight in here for people that are, looking to replicate the early success of what Klarna has done, but it's not a new case study. So I would say it's important.
Yeah, John, what do you think?
I came down on important as well. This generally wouldn't pass my sniff test in terms of being a robust enough case, but it's super understandable for an executive. It's super short. It's got specific data, and Klarna is one of the few application areas that has kind of caught the popular imagination of many execs. They've heard of it. This idea of customer support is really easy to understand. So for that reason, I give it an important.
Yeah, I think I agree, and it is staggering what it says right there. This transformative agent performs the work equivalent of 700 full-time staff.
Yeah.
Like when you wrap your head around that in a way that an executive can actually consume in a fairly usable fashion, let's make it important news. Yeah.
Yeah, and Adam, what's amazing is they got there so quickly, right? They didn't even seem like they spent any time wasting in pilot. They just almost went straight to production, and within the first quarter, we're seeing these staggering results.
Yep.
Very impressive.
Just fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
Thanks. Important it is. Let's move along, Ankash.
Okay, the next one is a research paper which talks about scaling pre-training to 100 billion data for vision language model.
Yeah, John, what do you think of this news?
Yeah, I was between optional and important on this one. I think the fundamental thing here, so they've taken, massive amounts of images and really tried to, I think the biggest important finding here is by taking these massive numbers that they have decreased the bias in categorizations and inference about images and also attributes of images. And I think that's an important thing because one of the things that this pointed out to me was if you look at the biodiversity of the planet, right, it's coming down and down and down as we kill off millions of species. And you look at the biodiversity of things like our food chain, right? We're getting more and more fragile. And what this pointed out to me is that if we're not careful, because of the nature of the statistics in matrix math, we're decreasing the biodiversity of our thinking, right? And of our perception of cultures and individuals and so forth. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the math underneath, it's not exactly averaging out, but it's finding patterns, right? And those patterns have central tendencies, and those central tendencies become expressed in the model.
It's normalized.
Yeah, they get normalized, not in the formal statistical sense of normalized, but normalized. And so I started to think, well, at first they seem kind of esoteric, but on the other hand, it's like, wow, these folks have really done a good job of expanding the aperture. In addition, they make the point that some of the improvements like quantizing and using less precision on the mathematics can also collapse to fewer categories, fewer and more bigger, more gross categories as they go along. So I was going to give this an important, even though it's a fairly technical paper. When I fed it to the robots, they're like, "This thing's essential." I was like, I'm going to give it important.
Under what context? Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Adam, I don't really have a lot to add to what John said. I think he did a great job of sort of tearing this apart. So I'm gonna go with his recommendation.
Do you agree? Do you think the busy enterprise AI exec should have this on their reading for the weekend? Not have to, but maybe be aware of it and decide if it's something they want to look deeper into.
I'll be honest. I think on that level, I can't say that the majority of your listeners are going to be looking at this over the weekend, right? I don't think that's going to happen.
Even if we recommend it to them. No, John, are you going to be okay with an optional here? I think it is a pretty deep technical read. It's an important idea.
Sure.
And I think it will play out, but by the time it plays out to the executives, there's going to be a much more digestible real world application conceptually of what this means for them.
Yes. No, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. I don't know why I'm thanking you. I can do whatever I want.
My vote doesn't
optional matter. It is. Let's move along, Ankash.
You have to get used to the authoritarian way. It's very Silicon Valley nowadays. They don't believe in democracy anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a meeting so I can tell you you're all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last one that we have for today comes from OpenAI, and it is a use case about how Rogo scales AI-driven financial research with OpenAI O1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy, I'm not sure I know who I'm looking at in the mirror when I say that I might be tempted to call a use case from OpenAI essential news. But this is a pretty compelling case. It's the first time I've seen OpenAI publish a use case specifically around their reasoning models and specifically around how to orchestrate an agentic network with some powerful numbers around the ROI to it.
Uh-huh.
So it's definitely, in my opinion, something that they're going to want to take a look at. And you can see there 5,000 bankers, 27x annual recurring revenue. It's just like, and if you scroll down on Kaj, it actually gets into some of the details around how they put this thing together. It's a fairly short article. I'm all in favor of it. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it's very interesting, right? This is a fairly young company, right? They raised the pre-seed in October of 2021. They've only raised in aggregate about $29 million, but they do have some very smart investors. They've got Khosla and Eric Schmidt behind them. On the one hand, there's nothing terribly new, right? If you look at what Morgan Stanley did in its wealth management group 2 years ago, bringing all of the siloed data to, a single pane of glass so that every wealth advisor can see it. Morningstar did the same thing. Bloomberg did the same thing, although they built their own model, but very few people have the resources. But I think what makes this different is this is the first time we actually get to peek behind the curtain and see how this is being done. And it seems to be pushing on this new wave of agentic application. So for that reason, especially with the reasoning model integrated, I'd say that this is important.
Yeah, I would get at least an important, maybe essential, because I heard Jamie Dimon's going to be pissed if it doesn't come in the office. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. This whole notion of being able to automate jobs that are getting paid between 75 and $250,000 or more. There's a central activity of bankers. Give you an idea, JP Morgan Chase has about a little over 300,000 employees. They say they've got 50,000 bankers. I mean, that's a over $7 billion payroll. So that's huge. I mean, and the ability here to increase productivity, it goes back to the thing, Paul posted the other day, is New York City going to be Youngstown? Well, maybe, and this is how it might get there. But this is a huge category. What you said, Mike, each of the component parts or even some of the application aren't new to the world, but we have a deeper view and we have a better idea of how it's put together and what the economics are.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think it's and again, an easy to understand example, right? Any executive can understand what's getting automated here. And I think that's important. So altogether, that to me, important times important equals essential.
Okay, I'll go with that, John. You've convinced me.
This is something I would like to read over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which could still be important news, but let's give it an essential. It's Great Inflation Friday, and Paul's no longer with us. I think that's 3 essentials today.
You remind me of saying that we have great inflation is like when Chris Hedges talks about how Chris Hitchens talks about how there was morality before there was religion, and I have to agree with him. But anyway, there's no great just because Friday happens to be full of, the other thing is a lot of people announce important stuff on Friday.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Sorry.
John, do you have any more announcements? Mike, anything to add? We'll get the final tally from Onkaj.
No, go ahead and get the final tally from Onkaj. Let me find out if I can see what our Learning Lab on Monday is.
All right, there we go. We have 3 essentials, the 2 importance, and the 1 optional piece of news to start off your Valentine's Day Friday.
Yeah, and with that, just as we said, look at LumaRay if you just want to be inspired. those videos are absolutely stunningly beautiful. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure. Hope you come back.
Oh, Adam, thank you, and John, and really appreciate the opportunity to join you guys. Always a lot of fun, and have a great weekend, everybody. Okay.
Yep, and don't forget Learning Lab on Monday. Sorry, I don't have the topic for you, but it'll be from 7 to 8 Eastern U.S. time, and everyone is welcome.
Yep. Right. And thank you from the whole team to those tuning in and participating in the discussion. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all on Monday.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye.